The following episode contains spoilers. If you don't want me to ruin the series for you, pause this podcast and come back when you've seen it. From this point on, everyone is at their own risk. Sincerely yours, Management. Welcome everyone to Lights Camera Podcast, a program dedicated to all those cinema lovers. I'm Sofia Erler, and I'm glad to be one more episode here with you. In this episode, we'll be talking about Sex Education, the series created by Laura Nunn that debuted for the first time on Netflix in January of 2019. As always, I invite you to get comfy and grab some snacks. Without no further ado, let's get down to this episode. Socially awkward high school student Otis may not have much experience in the lovemaking department, but he gets good guidance on the topic in his personal sex ed course, living with Mom Jean, who's a sex therapist. Being surrounded by manuals, videos, and tediously open conversations about sex, Otis has become a reluctant expert on the subject. When his classmates learn about his home life, Otis decides to use his insider knowledge to improve his studies at school. So he teams up with whip-smart bad girl Maeve to set up an underground sex therapy clinic to deal with their classmates' problems. But throughout this analysis of teenage sexuality, Otis realizes that he may need some therapy of his own. This series features actors such as Emma McKee, Asa Butterfield, Nachuri Gadwa, Gillian Anderson, among others. Okay, so, first of all, I want to say that this is, one of the very few series that really hits the spot about what it's like to be a teenager, or that has actors that really portray teenagers. They don't have those actors that are like 10 years older than what teenagers are supposed to be, aka Riverdale. Number 2, this series has no censorship, and I think it's something very important when it comes to a series that's going to teach us something. Speaking of teaching or learning from something, this series not only talks about sex education, but about various topics. I know it's called sex education, and you expect it just to be about that, but it's another one of those series that wants to start a conversation with its audience. And truth be told, it actually does, without diverting between the drama or comedy. Like other Netflix series, 13 Reasons Why. It's a show we should all watch, especially the young teen audience. Since sex education isn't the only thing the series talks about. Like I said, there are so many topics that many people can identify with, okay? So, I want to, for a moment, stop and talk about our main characters and their problems? Yeah. First, we have Otis, our main character. Your typical introvert guy who doesn't like to mess with anyone. Otis has problems with his sexual life. We're just gonna state that it's his whole sexual life and everything that revolves around that. Then we have Eric. He's the opposite of Otis. He's extremely outgoing and lively. Eric's gay, and the problem here is that his family don't accept who he is because they're very religious. So in the first season, we see how this affects him a lot. That his family doesn't accept him as who he is. But in the second season, his family is actually fine with him being gay, and he's happy about that. So he lives a happy life out and about being who he is. Then we have Maeve. She's our typical bad girl with very good feelings, but very hidden. Maeve is a girl who lives at her own pace, but somewhat lonely, with economic problems and parental abandonment. So, her rude attitude is just a defense mechanism to avoid getting attached and then being abandoned. Then there's Adam, your typical bully with a secret. Well, Adam is not very bright and not at all understood in his house. He struggles with his sexuality and feels lost about it. In the first season, we can see how his fragile masculinity forbids him to even think about his sexuality. But in the second season, he comes to terms with his sexuality and ends up being with his victim, Eric. Then there's Jackson, our star athlete. Jackson is the star of the swim team, but he's unhappy because his mom's put so much pressure on him and they don't even let him think for himself. He goes to the point of hurting himself to give himself a break from all the chaos. Then there's Amy. She's this stereotype of blonde girls are dumb, She's not taken seriously, and most people shut her up or don't let her express herself until she starts hanging out with Maeve. Another thing is that Amy has, she doesn't know what to do with her life. She has that typical teenager midlife crisis where you don't know what you're doing or don't know what to expect about life. She's also a sexual harassment victim. And last but not least, we have Jean, Otis's mom. Like any other mom, she wants the best for her son, but she doesn't know how to separate her personal life from her professional. She has this conflict where she doesn't know how to treat Otis, not as a patient, but as her son. Then we have background secondary characters like Lily, Ola, Mr. Groff, Raheem, etc. And I know what you're thinking, Sophia, they do contribute things to the series, and I'm like, yeah, I know they do, but it's not like that it's not in my opinion, I don't consider them main characters. And I know that Ola, in the second season, has mixed feelings for Lily, and this affects her relationship with Otis, and then she realizes she's pansexual, but, for me, she's still not a main character. Now, I want to talk a little about the themes and reasons why Sex Education is a very good series and worth watching. Number one, this series, removes prejudice and imposes respect. It's like a reflection of values and freedom that society has yet to still freaking understand. Number two, with each episode of this series, we're learning about different issues or themes. For instance, vaginism, masturbations, STDs, asexuality, pansexuality, abortion, etc. And that each of these aspects is used to leave a social message on the subject. Number three, sex is not the only thing this series talks about. It focuses a lot on it, and I know it's called Sex Education, but like I said, it highlights on other topics like family trauma, addiction, bullying, sexual harassment, etc. Now, the importance of dealing with the topics without censorship is another thing I do really like about the series. Sex Education, as well as other series, wanted to start a conversation. And for me, it's almost the only series it's been able to achieve this without deviating from its objective. We have drama, we have comedy, but the series always stands firm on what it's trying to communicate. And I want to stop for a moment and talk about this because I think it's really important. Netflix has been putting out a lot of series that gives us a topic to talk about. One of them being 13 Reasons Why. And I want to talk about this because that was my first episode. 13 Reasons Why was supposed to target mental health and suicide and how we should deal and be talking about it. But 13 Reasons Why extended its series for 4 fucking seasons, and it deviates from the point, And Sex Education has 2 seasons with 10 episodes each, that makes them 20 episodes. And from the very beginning to the very last episode, it doesn't deviate from its subject, It talks about sex education and it teaches us stuff, and yes, it has funny moments and sad moments, but it doesn't deviate from its point. So I think that's very important. Number 5, the support. It's something that the series also highlights in its 2 seasons. Not only the support between friends like Eric and Otis, but also the support to others just for the sake of being a decent human being and not being a dick. For example, the scene of "It's my vagina," where Ruby's vagina photo circulates around the school, and then everyone's like, it's my vagina, it's my vagina. Or the scene where the girls are there to take the bus with Amy so she can overcome her fear of being sexually harassed again. Or even when Maeve has an abortion and the women having an abortion with her support her and tell her it's gonna be okay. I like how there's like a non-false representation of true feminism, something a lot of series try to do, but it actually looks forced. This is, in this series, it's natural, and I really like it. Now, another thing that I really love, and it's actually my next point, is the photography of this series. It's amazing. I really like it. You know, the uniform color tones and the perfect frames, it makes it a true masterpiece. Now, to whom is this series targeted? You know, this is a series that I personally think that it's for teenagers and adults, because no matter how old we are, there will always be room for new things to learn. You know, things we didn't know about, or simple curiosity. I think we all need to see this series in order to start or follow a conversation. And now I'll give you the rates given to this movie. IMDb gave it an 8.3 out of 10. Metacritic gave it an 80%, and Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 94%. What do you think? So that's it for this episode. I hope you liked it, and what did you guys think about this series? Was it good, bad, meh? Remember to follow Lights Camera Podcast on Instagram and Facebook to be notified of new content, to give your opinions, or decide what other series or movies I should talk about. If you're listening this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Thank you so very much for listening, and we'll tune in again next week. Take care, drink lots of water, and keep consuming cinema. Bye!